3 years ago, we were really a traditional holding company. So Publicis Group owned a whole heap of agencies doing lots of similar and lots of different things. And often we would go out, we would pitch for new business against each other, which when you think about it, it's kind of weird because we are related in some way. We're brothers and sisters or cousins, whatever you want to call it. And we were fighting for the same clients. So we really thought that this is not the model that we need to be in order to cope in this connected age that we're in now. So all the senior people of the group got together, I believe it was in San Francisco at the time, and the Power of One was born, which was a new way that they wanted to organize Publicis Group, which was going to be in solution models, basically bringing together all the expertise that existed in media, creative, and tech. And there's a health component as well, but I won't spend too long on that. And combine all of the competencies together and go to market as one. As I said before, the group has this vision, basically, to be our clients' indispensable partner in their own transformation. This is quite broad, and it needs to be quite broad because, as you saw in one of my first slides, there are so many different agencies and agency cultures that exist within Publicis Group. And really, the further you go down to your actual brand, which is where most people are employed into, you need to be able to really identify with the culture of that brand. But it has to fit in the higher it goes up. To give you an idea of the scale, so we have just under 24,000 employees globally at Publicis Media, and as you would have seen in one of the videos, we're 80,000 across the group, so quite a substantial number. Publicis Media has 230 offices in 115 countries, so it's big, let's say. We have 6 global brands that exist within Publicis Media. Blue, Digitas, Performix, Spark, Starcom, and Zenith. You may have heard of some of those. All of those exist in the UK. And then we have 5 global practices. So commerce, data sciences, people first content, PMX, and strategic studio. Basically, the way that it works is the clients sit in the brands and the specialties sit in the practices. And the easiest way I could try to explain it is the practices act almost as consultants, so they can go on to a different client and provide whatever expertise it is that they have. Within each brand, you have its own kind of unique culture. So Blue is the open source media agency, Digitas is the connected marketing agency, Performix is built for the relentless pursuit of results, Spark brings heat to brands, Starcom is the human experience company, and Zenith is the ROI agency. So this is what we have to try to keep in mind every day, and we've got people who work in multiple of those brands who also want to feel like they're part of a brand, because at the end of the day, employees or people that we hire want to be hired to a brand and not something that's a bit too vague, if you will. As I said earlier, the group wants to put the client at the center. So we have these specifically made client teams like One Team Samsung, which is made up of several brands. So I've just got the media logos on here because I couldn't fit every single agency who works on One Team Samsung, but it's loads from Publicis Group. So they all sit together, they have to work together. So you've got creative people, tech consultants, media people, all sitting together trying to work to produce something for One Team Samsung. And Marcus, who's joined me today, is leading the talent operation for that, so I'm sure he can attest to how confusing it can be at times. We have the same for P&G, PG1, and our newest is Platform GSK. So these teams also need to have their own unique culture within them, plus the brands that work in them, plus the practices that come. I mean, this is why I put the matrix on the top. It's so difficult for us to try to find the right mechanisms to make sure that everything works smoothly. The media agency of yesterday, we really just needed a few media planners, a few media buyers, a strategist maybe, and someone who could talk to a client. That's all you needed. It could get the job done. Perfect. Today, so I just took that graph. This is one of the reporting that I do. I look at all the capabilities that we have. You can't really read it, but I think you'll get the slide, so you'll see. This piece over there is still a large part. It's still 50% of our business is client management and media buying. But all these other little sections, they're all new. So there's all diversity of profiles that we have. We have data scientists, econometricians, engineers, tech strategists, mobile strategists, creative directors, e-commerce people. I mean, it's endless, the number of actual, I think there's like over 300 different types of roles that we have, which are different to just what we had yesterday. So it makes things quite complex. And the challenge is how we hire for all of these different agency teams with all these very, very diverse teams and all these different profiles together. And basically our focus has had to change. We can't anymore be hiring for company cultures. We need to hire to create a high-performing culture. So getting people to work as best that they can together in situations that they haven't before. So the way we're doing that, and I think that David has started touching on little things, so we are working with Assess First, so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what we're doing. And I wanted to give you some live examples. So the first one being Lab 1, and I'll talk to you about the Next Generation Board as well. Lab 1 is a program that has been relaunched as of last week, and actually the room didn't look too different to now. So we had only 5 tables, but 5 tables of 10 people who had never met each other before, and they were given a live brief that they needed to work on. And basically they have 3 days where throughout the day they have to listen to a lot of lectures and training pieces from people from Sapient talking about tech and platforms, etc., people from media, people from creative talking about storytelling and whatnot. They have their brief and then they need to come back in 3 days, so they do all their work outside of work hours and present to about 15 extremely senior people who are based in the UK. So we thought, what's the best way to give them a head start on getting to know really quickly who is in their team and how are they going to operate? Because when you work under such enormous pressure like that, you have to know who's going to be the doer, who's going to be the leader, who's going to be the perfectionist, who can I put in charge of the slides? I'm going to have the ideas, this one's going to do that, etc., etc., etc. And before, when we used to launch this program, it had a different name, but we never had these types of insights. So people used to see that up until the 11th hour, they were still arguing about, well, what should I do? Should we do this? Who's going to write the slide? What's going to happen? The whole thing would just be a complete nightmare. So this time, we had everybody do the Assess First assessment the week before. And then there's quite an interesting thing which we didn't see in David's presentation, but the talent mapper, which will map people across 12 different kind of behaviors. And how they operate. And basically, we gave them a blank talent mapper and asked each table, can you just think about where you sit in this quadrant? So do you think you're the doer, or are you the perfectionist, or whatever? And then we gave them their actual team profile so that they could really understand from day one, okay, this person is not going to be in charge of, designing the slides which have to be presented to the CEO of Saatchi & Saatchi in the UK, which, it has to be perfect. This person is going to do that. This person is going to drive the kind of lead the team, get us where we need to go. So I look after performance management as well, and we rate people at the end of the year, so everybody gets an assessment rating on excelling, performing, or room to improve. So it's just a 3-point scale. So for our predictive models, we've decided to look at our top 50 roles, and we want to look at about 15 profiles in each market. So as you saw, we have about 30 major countries that we operate in. So we will look at 15 profiles for each role, 5 who are excelling, 5 who are performing, and 5 who have room to improve. So on average, we're hoping to have about 450 to 500 profiles for our top 50 roles. And we will put them through the assessment and then do, as David showed you before, I haven't actually done one yet myself, but create our own predictive models. So we are about to launch also our happiness health check, where we can really start to measure, are people happy? Are people enjoying coming to work? Can they laugh? Can they work on great stuff? Because at the end of the day, unless your people are happy coming to work and they like working with the people who they're working with, they're challenged, they're motivated, we won't get the high-performing culture that we're really striving for.